Good afternoon, podcast listeners everywhere. Welcome to After the Bell, a Stunt Brothers production. I'm Martin Stubel.
And I'm Roy Hunt, and we share your pain, having taught a combined 70 years.
70 years?
I know, wow. So get out your marking, organize your supplies, or just pour yourself a coffee.
I think I need something stronger.
That's okay. And listen, engage, and interact with After the Bell, a podcast for you, the hardworking, dedicated teacher who wants free lesson plans, free advice, and a free meal.
Oh, I always show up for a free meal. Hey, here we are, listeners. We're kind of the same height now. It's a perspective thing,
It is.
right? Roy tells me he doesn't slouch.
I don't slouch.
He's no slouch.
I'm no slouch.
I'll vouch for him. But somehow often, I don't know, I got to bring myself down like this.
Well, it's because you have a longer torso than me.
Okay.
Right? In my family, it's the same thing. I go out for dinner with my wife and my daughters, and I look around the table, and I have to look up to see them. And I look like I need a booster chair just to meet my family in the eye. And
It's perspective.
I'm taller than everybody in my family except for one daughter.
Right.
But when we sit down, their torsos are like this.
It must be tough, man.
What is?
Yeah, wow.
It is. Look at. I could see someone walking in the door of the restaurant. Oh, look at those women taking that old man.
Yes.
Slouched down, and I'm not slouching. Slouched down in the restaurant chair, or the server comes up and says, "Would you like a booster, sir?"
Yeah,
And
I think we'll get you a booster next time. You okay with that? It's like my big-headed wife. I'm going to go there. We do these selfies, and she always wants to be behind me because she always figures her head looks too big in the picture. So she always has her head on my shoulder here so that her head doesn't look the same.
And see, I thought that was just something that was really cute. Now I know why. So then all that sort of cuteness is lost.
Yeah, there you go.
You're like, oh, it's because, she's got a...
Well, I'll know if she listened to this episode.
Yes.
I'll hear about it.
Oh, yes.
So,
we're looking for comments, but I think it's going to be a comment that you're not looking for.
Well, welcome, listeners. Here we are, episode 69. 69, yeah, After the Bell. You got the season part worked out?
Season 2, episode 39.
That's it. You got it.
There you go.
You're quick with that now. You got
remember, it's 9 episodes more than last year.
Well done.
Wow.
And the weather's beautiful. I'm in the garden. You're working hard.
I'm in the garden. You're working hard. Yes. Yes. I'm going into school regularly, right?
That's good.
To have the podcast, and I'm enjoying the outside time that I have, just cutting the grass. And
Do you find, I find when I'm in the garden, I can't help but start to reflect and think back upon the 35-year teaching career and think about some of the stuff that I got up to and the things we did in the class and some of the, the crazy fun stuff I did with the class. Just really going outside the box, and whether it's launching rockets or putting on plays or, pretending I was TOC for when I did this chemistry unit and mystery unit, right? And I came in dressed as someone else for the day just to get the mystery going.
That.
I did. I got to be a different character. But do you find your mind goes to some of those?
Some of those crazy ideas that we had, the ones that worked, ones that
they don't always work.
Didn't work.
Yeah.
I know. I think I've talked about it before. Is the igloo that I built in my classroom that took up
North Van legend
that took up 1/4 plus of my room.
Wow.
It was big enough. It was made out of over 1,000 milk jugs that were donated by Saputo.
Yes.
And the class glue gunned them together.
Mm-hmm.
And it was big enough to fit at least 5 students comfortably.
Very cool. Became like a reading nook, right? Yeah. No.
And then a student asked if they could bring Christmas lights in because they needed to be able to have the aurora borealis.
Yeah.
So they put the lights all around the top of the igloo.
Right.
And then we would turn out the lights, especially in the warmer days towards the summer.
Yes.
And it was pretty cool.
Yeah. I think we've always gone outside the box, right? We've taught with passion. We've been creative. We've taken chances.
Yes.
Right?
Lots of chances.
And it kind of, I came across a book recently. It's called Teach Like a Pirate.
Oh.
Right? Kind of fun idea. And pirate actually stands for something. And it's written by, it was a New York Times bestseller book written by Dave Burgess, who's a teacher in California. Mm-hmm. It's got a really neat background. So he's coming on. He's coming on today.
Oh,
and I think from what I've read about him, I've listened to him on a few podcasts. I think his sense of what it is to be a teacher and the performance part of it kind of matches maybe a little bit of what we've done.
Yeah.
Right. And I think he's a secondary teacher, high school teacher in history, and has a lot of great stories to tell. So let's go check him out. We're going on a field trip again. And we're going to meet up with Dave, coming from California, and he is here to talk like a pirate and teach like a pirate.
Teach like a pirate.
He doesn't have to talk. He does not have to talk the entire.
Teach like a pirate.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I'll have to throw in a few R's there, mateys. We'll see how it goes.
I'm going to make you walk the plank.
Okay. Well, today on After the Bell, we welcome a teacher, speaker, author, and educational pirate who has inspired educators around the world to stop teaching safely and start teaching passionately. If you've ever wanted your classroom to feel more like an event than a staff meeting, today's guest is your guy.
His book, Teach Like a Pirate, became a global phenomenon by challenging educators to bring more passion, creativity, immersion, rapport, and enthusiasm into the classroom. Since then, he's helped launch countless educators into the spotlight through Dave Burgess Consulting, an educational publishing company. Dave Burgess Consulting delivers powerful, inspirational, and innovative books, keynotes, and professional development.
Dave has taught U.S. history to hard-to-reach students, traveled the world inspiring teachers, and somehow convinced educators that hooks, storytelling, costumes, and standing on desks might actually belong in great teaching.
So whether you're a first-year teacher trying to survive until June or a veteran teacher looking to reignite the spark, grab your coffee.
Can I have some rum?
Yes, you can.
Okay, good.
Tighten the eye patch and prepare to board the ship with Dave Burgess.
Dave, welcome to After the Bell.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on the show. I am honored and pumped up to be here.
It's great. It's great to talk to an American cousin and have us on this Canadian podcast. We really appreciate going across the border and talking to you.
Yeah, well, there's a whole bunch of us that want to go across the border to your country.
Our hearts go out to you. We totally feel for what you have to put up with sometimes. Yes.
Yeah, we're suffering down here.
Yes, I know. So we're going to start with our icebreaker, ABC 1, 2, 3. And it's a bit like the Colbert Report questionnaire, where the first thing that pops in your head, no right or wrong. We'll just throw it out there just to get to know you a little bit before we get into the nitty-gritty.
Okay.
You always got to be suspicious. You always got to be suspicious when someone starts off by saying there's no right or wrong answers. I know. I don't know about that.
I know.
Yes.
Worst things you want to hear, right? You know right away there's a right or wrong.
There is.
Yeah.
I'm going to do the ABC. So here we go. A, magic or stand-up comedy?
Whew. Okay. I'm going to say magic.
Okay. Oh. Okay. So I always say first thing, and then I go, but I want to. Why magic?
Martin always wants to know why.
I do.
So, from the standpoint of like what I'm most interested in, or what is it most?
No, either one. No, I'm just curious because you've done both, right? You've been a magician, I believe.
So the stand-up comedy has always been a part of the magic. It's like a stand-up comedy magic show.
I see. Okay.
And so I've never done stand-up comedy on its own.
But you've blended the two. I see.
Yeah, but I've blended the two, and so that's a much more approachable way to do it than to. It's terrifying if you just go up there with a microphone and everyone's looking at you and like saying like, "Okay, be funny." That's terrifying.
I can't imagine being a stand-up comic, right? Yes. You know right away.
you do magic. Maybe the joke doesn't work, but at least they'll be amazed, right?
Sounds good. Okay, continue.
Okay, B. A classroom mutiny usually starts because A, students feel bored, or B, students feel disconnected.
Disconnected, I will say, because I'd say with bored, what you get is apathy and you get disinterest and all that, but disconnected starts to lead to some more rebellious behaviors And, you could be bored, but still have a rapport and relationship with your teacher.
Yeah.
Yep.
But if you're disconnected, then there's no incentive for you to, to behave, in a sense.
Even if someone doesn't like something, at least they're having an opinion about it. Disconnected, you just, who cares?
Yeah.
Disconnected is disconnected.
Yeah.
That's why it's called disconnected.
So there's no right or wrong, but I think that was right.
Yeah.
C, which pirate tool is more important? The compass for clear direction or the spyglass for big vision?
Ooh, wow. So that's a tough one. I'm gonna have to go compass for direction, because that spyglass, if you can look as far out as you want, but if it's in the wrong direction, then that's not going to be very useful. So, and I have this thing we could talk about later called the Teach Like a Pirate 5-word GPS. And it's very much a compass as opposed to a spyglass.
So 1, 2, 3. Pirates of the Caribbean with Johnny Depp or Captain Phillips with Tom Hanks?
Pirates of the Caribbean, Johnny Depp.
Okay. 2, what does a great captain of the classroom need more? A fearless crew or a solid treasure map?
I'm going to go with a fearless crew, because even with a solid treasure map, if you don't have a fearless crew, you're not getting there.
Okay, nice. And 3, do you have a teacher from your own childhood who taught like a pirate and kind of inspired you, who stood out among all the other teachers?
So I definitely have had some teachers that stood out amongst all the other teachers, but I don't know that I've had any that taught like a pirate. Anyone who's gone through the school system has had their share of great teachers, and maybe some ones that could have used an improvement plan. But
is there one that comes to mind, just a teacher that really made a difference in your life?
So my first job as a human being, I worked for John Wooden at the John Wooden basketball camps in Thousand Oaks, California. John Wooden is considered by many to be maybe the greatest coach of all time, certainly maybe the greatest basketball coach of all time. And so at a formative time in my life, when I was just a youngster, I worked 3 consecutive summers, week after week, for him at his basketball camps. I got to see him do his pyramid of success, which is famous, and interact with the campers and the parents and all that kind of stuff. And so his kind of philosophy on life is, I think was super influential for me at that early age.
Okay, great. Okay. Well, let's get into it.
All right. For anyone new to your work, what's the origin story behind Teach Like a Pirate?
Okay. So I apologize if I start to rant. It's a thing that happens sometimes.
Go for it.
It's okay.
Okay, so here's what I tell the origin story. So I had been teaching in my classroom for several years, and then one day my department chair, this is exactly what happened. My department chair came and met me for lunch. He walked in and he said, "You know what? I just got put on the professional development committee." And I thought to myself, how cool would it be if you put together a workshop based on some of that crazy stuff you do down in your room that nobody understands? And but then he paused and he said something that turned out to change my life. He said, "You know what? Actually, the more I think about it, I don't think you can. I think that your success in the classroom is kind of you. I think it's personality driven. I'm not sure it's something that you could teach to other people." And he just kind of moved on. And I got upset by that. I kind of took it as a challenge. The whole rest of the lunch, I was trying to bring it back to that topic, right? And so I took it as a challenge. I signed up to do a full day workshop for the peers in my district. I was not smart. A smart person would choose an hour session. I chose a full day workshop for my peers in my district, right? And I walked away from that meeting going oh my God, what have I just done? I don't have a workshop. I don't have any of this stuff organized. And so then I got relentless about writing down everything I did in my classroom that I thought was successful. But that's not good enough, because that's what I do. I had to take it a step back further and try to come up with, where do these ideas come from to begin with, right? Why does this one work and why doesn't this one work? And it forced me in the process of developing my workshop that summer to become much more intentional about my teaching. I always tell people, present, go do a workshop, whether it's in your district, your state, your national, whatever it might be. Go present a workshop, do some professional development, because you're going to be forced to come face to face with, what is it about what I do that's unique, different, maybe special, and then how can I impart that to other people? And in the process of teaching, it's going to just make you so much more intentional about what you do every day in your classroom. And that's what happened to me. Okay. And so I did that. And then I realized that when I traced back to the origin of where these ideas came from, a lot of time it came back to a question. It was a kind of question that I was asking about my lessons that maybe maybe other people weren't asking about their lessons. So I began to compile those questions, like one after another. And so eventually I had like 170 different questions, which I put into 30 different categories, which eventually became the hooks. And that became the centerpiece of the workshop that I did that summer in my own district. Okay. And it became the centerpiece of the book and the workshop and the keynotes and all the stuff that I do now. And it hit me, questions are the key to creativity. Like if you want to change your teacher's classroom, change their questions. If you change the questions they ask when they're designing their lessons, you could change their whole their whole style, their whole everything, right? It's sort of like like the modern day example of that would be a prompt with AI, right? Some people get horrible results with AI. Yes. Some people get incredible results with AI. What's the difference? It's the prompt, right? It's the prompt that you use. Yes. And it's the same thing with teachers and brainstorming and all that. It's the prompts that you use, the questions that you ask when you're looking at something, and that's what the key is. But I wanted to have a theme.
Yeah.
I wanted to be able to model and demonstrate what I do in my classroom, in my workshop. Like I didn't want to just tell them, like, here's a bunch of cool stuff. I wanted them to feel what it was like to be drawn in to these ideas, like my students are, right? And so I wanted to have a theme.
Passion, right?
Well, like pirates appeal to me because pirates are unconventional. They're willing to reject the status quo. They're willing to sail into uncharted waters with no guarantee of success. They're risk takers, rebels, mavericks. And so I wanted to embrace that spirit of being a pirate, right? And so, like I always tell people, it has nothing to do with wanting teachers to attack and rob ships at sea. It has to do with embracing that spirit of being a pirate. And then in addition to that, like I'm abnormally obsessed with acronyms, as many educators are. So the first thing I did is I turned the page sideways. I wrote PIRATE down the page. I tried to generate an acronym.
Yes.
I knew I wanted to talk about passion and enthusiasm. They're the P and E were sitting at the beginning and the ends of the word, like the cornerstones of it. Yeah. And I knew I wanted to talk about building rapport with kids as sort of being like the heart of teaching. They're the R was sitting in the center. I never looked back. Right. And by the way, what are pirates known for? Pirates are known for having hooks. And it's just all about how you could hook students and draw them almost magically or magnetically into what you're doing in your classroom. And so all those things kind of came together to create this Teach Like a Pirate kind of idea and workshop. I did it that summer in my own district, and then I went anywhere where anyone would listen to me to talk about it from there on out.
Wow. Brilliant, Dave.
Amazing.
Was that like, how long were you into your career when this came along? How'd you been teaching?
Man. So let's see. I probably started doing the workshop a good 8 or 9 years into my career. I've been teaching in the classroom. And when I came up with the first workshop. And by the way, I started speaking on it. So the first workshop I did, I still have the program. I just put it out to my email list the other day. I showed a picture of the program and the description and the write-up of it. Was in the summer of 2005 was the first Teach Like a Pirate presentation. At that point, it was called Outrageous Teaching Like a Pirate as a subtitle, which eventually became just Teach Like a Pirate. But and then the book didn't come out until 2012. And so for like 6 or 7 years, I worked the circuit, traveled, spoke, honed the message, developed it before the book came out. And so, like a lot of times people think like the book went out, it went viral, it was like this overnight success. They don't see the fact that I spoke for 7 years on this thing before I even wrote a book about it.
People don't realize the hard work behind things sometimes, right? It takes a long time, a lot of perseverance. When you started teaching, was that kind of your way anyway, or were you more traditional at the beginning and then you kind of gravitated towards this, or was it just speaking to who you were as a person?
I think it was a little bit of speaking to who I was, but it was also speaking to my audience. And I was working with a very tough group, and it became clear very early on for me that I was either going to find a way to engage these kids or I was going to burn out and leave the profession. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of this was kind of invention via necessity. Right. Mm-hmm. And which some of the best things are, right?
Yeah.
And so it was, I'm going to need to figure out a way to win these kids over and be able to deliver this content in a way which draws them in. And if I can't do that, then this is going to be a place that's not going to be a fun place to teach. And I think a lot of teachers feel that same way, right? Like they realize like, oh, when everything's clicking, this is a wonderful and fantastic profession. And when it's not, it can be one of the hardest places to be of all time.
Yes.
And your students were about grade 9, 10?
So the majority of my time I spent teaching 11th grade U.S. history. Okay. I taught a few other subjects along the way, but the majority of my teaching experience was 11th grade U.S. history.
So the acronym for pirate, you have P, passion, I, immersion, R, rapport, A, ask and analyze, T, transformation, and E, enthusiasm. Of those, which element do you think teachers find the biggest struggle with?
I believe that it's possibly a okay, so one of the things I talk about is in the P, the passion piece, I talk about the deep, dark secret that we have as educators. Okay. And this might be one of the things that people struggle with. And the deep, dark secret is this. Everywhere you go, people say you have to be passionate. Like, you have to bring passion. You have to have passion. Like, you'll see a speaker will come out and say, like, if you can't find passion for your work, then by God, find new work, right? And then, then they say, thank you, and they're walking, they leave.
What
and
do
you could be like
that?
sitting there in the audience, going like, yeah, but this guy never told me how. Like, what's the? And so here's the deep dark secret. We all know we're supposed to be passionate about our work, but, and with apologies to Sir Mix-a-Lot, this is a big but.
Yeah.
But we are not passionate about everything that we teach.
Yes.
No.
Like I usually there, I'll pause like in front of an audience. I'll say, let the freedom wash over you. And so like this idea that there's going to be days where that content standard, that part of your unit, that part of your curriculum, it's just not your thing. There might be lots of stuff that you love to teach, but there are those days. Well, so what do you do on those days? That's one of the toughest things for a teacher to deal with, because it's easy to go in and teach your favorite topics and subjects and things that you're fired up about, but that curriculum's not going to be all things that you're fired up about.
Yeah,
right?
It's not.
And so what do you do on those days? And that's why in that section of the book, I kind of broke passion into 3 categories. Okay. And one of those categories is your content passion, right? But that's just one of the categories. There's 2 other categories. The second category is your professional passions. Like, what is it about just being an educator that gets you fired up and excited, completely outside of your subject matter and your curriculum? What is it about just being an educator, and how can you draw more of your attention towards that part of teaching? And then your third thing is your personal passions. What are you passionate about completely outside of education? Are the ways that you can bring some of that in to be more fulfilled and more personalized for your kids and building rapport and relationships with them, because you're sharing some of yourself as a part of what you're teaching in your classroom. And I always tell people, like, I want my students to graduate not just knowing my curriculum, I want them to graduate knowing me as well. That's part of building rapport and relationships with kids. And so it's when you can combine all 3 of those layers. Yes, your content passion, but then some of your professional passions and some of your personal passions into like one thing. And that's when you can kind of find that consistency of getting excited about coming to school in the morning.
Yeah, and I like the idea of giving people freedom not to be passionate about everything too, right? Sometimes it's just going to be something you have to do.
It's a ridiculous expectation to think that you're going to like everything in your curriculum.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because when I read that in your book, it made me think about when I was, as a dad of a young child, the number of times I read this one book that my daughter loved over and over and over and over again. And I said, oh, not this again. But she was so excited about hearing that book. And so I was able to find the passion because it was, she is of value to me, just like our students are of value to us and the connection we make with them. And so I would put on the show and I would read it with the voice that she loved. And that is one of those elements from being a dad that actually I brought in my toolkit as a teacher.
Absolutely love
bring that passion.
I love that. So it became not about the book anymore. It was about your daughter.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's the way it is. Like it's Carlos Santana has this line that I love in speaking about enthusiasm. He said, enthusiasm is the most contagious thing in the world. The songs become incidental. What people receive is your joy.
Yeah.
And for a teacher, the lessons become incidental. What people receive is your joy, in that sense that your students have that, like, you love being there with them, you care about them, you want to empower them and have them go on and live successful lives. And, the lessons are just the path to that, but they get a sense of that joy that you have as being an educator. And kids can feel the opposite as well. They know the teacher that loves teaching, and they know the teacher that's punching the clock and can't wait.
They're BS. detector is pretty strong, right?
Yeah.
Unbelievably strong.
But speaking of that enthusiasm, though, let's say like teachers, everyone has a bad day. Do you think teachers can fake it on those days, or do kids see through that despite their BS detectors? Is it something teachers should have to do? Like we all have personal things that sometimes we walk in the class and we're still remembering that fight you had with your teenage son or whatever it is you're bringing in.
Yeah.
Can we move forward on that, or is it better just to acknowledge, no, I'm not going to be quite there today?
Okay, so I have a couple of different answers on this one.
Okay.
So first of all, I think there's no problem with acknowledging that you are struggling on any particular day as an educator, and that's part of, again, that authenticity that kids can feel, and modeling some vulnerability as well. That is good for students to see that you don't have to be a superhero for your kids every day. Like they can sense that, okay, this is a real human being who has struggles just like I have, but yet here's how I'm going to model moving through those struggles. And, you can kind of be that role model for them and how you do that. So I think that there's nothing wrong with that. But I also feel that there is that time to unplug and immerse into your lesson. I have hired immersion, right, to immerse yourself into what you're doing. And there's this cool thing about enthusiasm that I talked about in the book. And I believe this to be true. You can't fake like a relationship. You can't fake maybe caring. There's lots of things that they have that BS to check about. But the way, if you are not enthusiastic, there's a secret shortcut to become enthusiastic. Act enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And when you act enthusiastic, it actually works. It actually,
it does.
if you move your body, if you want to be more enthusiastic, move your body in a more enthusiastic way. Talk in a more enthusiastic way. Gesture in a more enthusiastic way, and then actually, it completes the loop, and then you actually get more fired up and enthusiastic. And so, like, if you were to see me walk across the campus at break, I always thought, like, you might think that, like, I'm a three-toed sloth or something, right?
Yeah.
And someone would say, that's the most dynamic teacher we have on our campus. And someone would be like, that guy who's like slouching his way to the bathroom over there? Like, what are you talking about, right?
Yeah.
But then when class starts and the bell rings, I have like little tricks and rituals that I use to get into the proper state. I have the ability to change my state in a very quick fashion. You change your state by two things: change your physiology or change what you focus on. I use both of those as shortcuts to change my state. And so I think that's something that teachers can learn. They can learn how to do that.
No, I'm a real adherent to that kind of idea of, even if you start to fake it, it starts to consume you and make you feel enthusiastic. Just on a very personal level, about 15 years ago, I was going through a challenging divorce, and I was very depressed inside. And, as one does when you go through that terrible moment in your life. And I would enter the classroom and think, I don't know if I can get through this day. But the moment I would get into it, and honestly, teaching actually helped me. It helped me because I suddenly wore the students and we're involved, and I'm getting enthusiastic, and that I lived for those days of getting back in the class. Like, it really helps for sure.
Yeah. It's like it's like almost therapeutic to be immersed in something.
It is.
You can be so immersed in something that it can release the anxiety and tension around other things. Yeah. And by the way, I've been through one of those divorces. But
okay. There you go.
And so, but that's true. That's why, I'm a runner. And sometimes people say that, like, oh my God, running, that sounds absolutely miserable. But it's like a period of time during the day where I can unplug and just be outside and have my breath and my step and look around and see things and watch, and like everything else, the rest of the world kind of shrinks and goes away. Yeah. And so it's kind of like almost a practice of meditation for me. And teaching can serve the same function.
It can. It's not a desk job where you're sitting there filling out forms and then your mind's just going through all the stuff that's in your head. You're onto so many things in that day. It's therapeutic. You're right.
Yeah.
So how do you balance entertaining with actually delivering deep learning?
Yeah. Okay. So this is this thing. Quinn Rollins, he wrote a book for me called Play Like a Pirate, which is about using like action figures, Legos, graphic novels, things like this in the classroom. Fantastic early book in our line. He has a quote that I love. It said, "Serious learning can be seriously fun." And so I always try to convince people, don't fall for that false dichotomy that people try to set up on you. People will do this to you. They'll try to make you say that your class is either about learning or your class is about fun. not only can those things go together, they go better together.
Yes.
I call it the Reese's effect. They go better together, right?
Yeah.
And so it's you do not have to choose between learning and fun. In fact, the best path forward is to meld the two.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I always, in grade 5, we teach Canadian government, the British parliamentary system we have in Canada. And, some people would just be opening up the textbook and answering the questions. We created our own parties. We had a parliamentary system. I was the Speaker of the House, and those kids remembered it, right? So it was real serious learning. They were creating their own issues. They were becoming public speakers. It was serious, but it was a lot of fun at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, that's fantastic.
And I guess a part of it's the hooks you talk about, right? That pirate idea of hooks. Can you think of some favorite hooks that you've had that have transformed the lessons for you?
Yeah, so it's a little bit like asking a parent who their favorite child is.
They have one though.
Yeah.
Oh,
we won't go there. We won't go there, right?
No.
But so but what I will say first is that there's this thing that happens with people who maybe read Teach Like a Pirate and start to try to teach like a pirate. And there's this quote, I don't know who to give credit for, but the quote is something like he who has a hammer tends to see every problem as a nail.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so you will have a couple of hooks which you naturally gravitate towards. And you will want to pull that out over and over and over and over again. But the more you use that hook, the less effective it will be. And so it's always best to come from the standpoint of that I'm going to try to use a variety of these things because these hooks are going to hit different people and different days and different learning styles, different personality types are going to be drawn into different ones. And so I'm always trying to not only use a different variety, but understand that there's not a lesson where I want to have just one hook, but I want to layer them. I have this steak, cooking steak analogy in the book about how it's you don't just serve raw steak on a plate, right? There's marinade, seasoning, put some rub on it.
Right.
You're going to serve, when you serve it to them, you're going to be side dishes, beverages, a dessert after when it's all done. And that's what we call a meal, right?
Yeah.
And the same thing is true in the classroom where we don't just have our raw content. We have all this richness that we're adding to it and these hooks and these things, that's the side dishes, beverages, and dessert. And that's what makes, just like it makes someone enjoy a meal and want to come back and dine with you again, it makes them enjoy the lesson and want to come back and learn with you again. And so I'll give you just, here's an example of a hook which people wouldn't think of as a hook, but I think of as a hook. I call it the teaser hook. And so the teaser hook is like this. When you go to the movies these days, you don't even see the movie for 20 minutes. What do you see?
Yeah.
The trailers.
Trailers and commercials.
Previous trailers.
Yeah.
Previous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why? Because it makes you want to see what's coming out. Well, I work hard to make kids want to see my class. I'm building up my class way ahead of time. So the teaser hook is asking what are you going to say today that makes them excited about coming tomorrow?
Yeah.
What are you gonna say at the beginning of the semester that makes them desperate to see that unit that lesson that's coming at the end of the semester that you keep building up. But when it gets there, they're ready to come out of their skin, right?
Yeah.
When the kids walk into the room, what do they see that makes them immediately have some buzz, curiosity, and some about what's going on, right? What's written on the board, what's shining on the screen, what props do they see? What have you done to the classroom that all of a sudden makes them go whoa, that makes them feel like they're walking into a different space. And so it's always kind of building up this sense of mystery, curiosity, buzz, and anticipation, where we can put kids on the edge of their seats to see stuff that we want to show them all along anyway. And so that's not something that's going to take necessarily a lot of time, but it's just thinking about, what is it about tomorrow's lesson that I can kind of promote, tease, give them a little trailer for.
I like that.
That makes them want to come tomorrow. Yeah. And that's so a lot of these things aren't about spending a lot of new time. It's about just kind of rethinking how we do what we do in order to use some of these human nature kind of ideas. A trailer makes us want to go see that movie. Well, I want kids to come see my lesson tomorrow.
Yeah.
So what kind of trailer like thing can I do for my lesson for tomorrow?
Yeah.
I love that idea.
Yeah. Because it's almost like, I've done it where we were going to do a science experiment, but it didn't say what the experiment was going to be. But I would write a list of things you need to bring tomorrow. Bring gloves, bring a toque. Right?
Yeah.
And I said, and if you want, bring boots. And
Yeah, I love it.
And I said, just write it down.
And
we
go
used
ahead.
dry ice that day.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I love it. And by the way, I have enough Canadian friends that I know that a toque is what we would call a
There
beanie.
we go.
Yes.
Well done.
Yeah. So now I prefer actually to call it a toque. The beanie, so to me, and I've heard Canadians say this, a beanie is like a little hat you wear on that has a propeller on the top. Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah, it's what a
it's a
beanie
toque.
is. Yes, good.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. What's the biggest mistake teachers make when they're trying to make their lessons more engaging? So I know that you talked about hooks, but someone says, "Okay, I'm going to do this," but what would you see as like that's the biggest mistake? Because I mean, we've all been there where we've had lessons that sort of, this is what I'm going to do, and this went like down.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
what do you
Like
think
it falls
is
flat.
there? Yeah.
Okay, so if I could, so there's a whole list of them, but I'm gonna choose one.
Okay.
Designing a lesson, and it's the engaging pieces around what you find engaging, as opposed to what a whatever the issue for me, a 16 or 17-year-old kid would find engaging, right? And so I talk to teachers about this all the time, where like a history teacher will come up to me, and they'll say, like, I just don't understand what's happening. Like, they didn't even seem like they cared about the Spanish-American War. I mean, are you kidding me? Like the Rough Riders and Teddy Roosevelt, like Dewey's Navy, and like all that, and they're so into history and into the things that they know about history, they just can't even fathom that someone else wouldn't be, right?
Yeah.
And so it's always saying like, okay, I'm excited about this topic. That's great, but that's not good enough.
Yeah.
What about this 4th grade kid? What are they going to find about what this 7th grade kid or kindergarten, whatever age you teach? What's engaging for them, not what's engaging for you?
Yeah.
Would you be willing to share a moment where you did a lesson and it flopped, so that people can see you don't always have to be perfect, and sometimes you should let things flop. It's part of a growth.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have so many to choose from. So this is, I mean, I don't hide the fact that I have just this incredible range of failures to choose from.
Yeah.
And this, by the way, that's one of the things I say in my breakout session. I say, like, I can guarantee you I've had more disasters in my classroom than anyone sitting here. I'm not talking about lessons that weren't engaging. I'm talking disasters. Like, I have been injured during lessons before. I've had students injured in lessons before. I've had to sit in my principal's office and explain why I thought it was a good idea to have an open propane tank flame raging in the classroom. Now, to me, it made perfect sense that when we were telling those Mountain Man tall tales that we'd written collaboratively using Mountain Man slang, it was going to be way more engaging if we told them around a campfire roasting marshmallows.
Yeah.
Not everybody on my campus saw it that way. like, I probably should have known it was a problem in the first period when I had to have a kid up with a folder by the smoke alarm going like this. So, here is an example. I'll try not to go too long on this one. And especially if you have a Canadian audience. I don't know if your Canadian audience will be familiar with this moment in history, but there's this Orson Welles was a radio broadcaster. And in the 1930s,
Martian invasion, yeah.
Yep,
yeah,
he did.
They'll know.
He had
They'll
the
know.
War of the World, the War of the
Yes.
Worlds
Yeah.
broadcast.
They'll know. Yeah,
It was live on the radio.
yeah.
And now looking back on it, of course, we just can't understand this. But at that point, it's like a person broke into a show with updates about a Martian invasion, and it stunned people. The list of things that happen as a result of people panicking over that broadcast it's insane, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk about the impact of the radio in the 30s and eventually talk about fireside chats with FDR and all these kind of things like this. And so I'm like, what better way to like hook these students than a Martian invasion story, like the War of the Worlds. Not only that, but the idea that it was a scam and everybody fell for it. Like, kids are going to love this, right? And so I designed this whole lesson where the centerpiece of my lesson was going to be turning all the lights off, and we were going to listen to the original broadcast, just how it went down, right? absolute disaster. Behavior problems, kids throwing things in the dark, people scream, like people like it was. Next period, same that I was so angry because I had put so much time in designing this lesson. Yeah. But without realizing, of course, that like, you know, all these things about steak seasoning, marinade, side dishes, beverages, and desserts, you can't have spoiled steak. You still have to have good content, right? Yeah. And the very centerpiece of my content, that original 1930s broadcast, for today's audience, these kids, it's the most unbelievably boring, slow-moving thing in the history of the world. Yeah, they can't absolutely hate it. They absolutely hated it, right? Yeah. And it was a total disaster. The next year, tried to do it again. Yeah. Was not smart. But this time, accessorized, had decorations, came like, you know, had like Martian stuff out and outer space things. And like, oh my God, with these Teach Like a Pirate accessories, this is going to really hit this time. Same thing, behavior management problems. And I realized then, slowly, but I realized, hey, the whole centerpiece of my lesson is horrible. So what I had to do to fix this, by the way, is I had them get into groups and create radio broadcasts, which then they would go back into the back office group at a time. And though I told them the whole idea about these radio broadcasts is all the sound effects were done in studio live. Like if somebody walked up the steps, you literally had to be in the studio going like, you know, like making the steps, the sounds of going up the steps. If someone's like these actors and actresses literally were doing it live in the radio, and people sat around the living room and watched the radio. Like we would watch the television, like they would gather at night and listen to these like serial shows, right? Mm-hmm. So now all of a sudden, what do we have? Now we have creativity. Now we have collaboration. Mm-hmm. Now we have kids working together. Now we have them performing, not just listening to some static podcast, like, well, they're like lying in the dark, right? They're actually performing things. They're creating things. They're collaborating with each other, having fun. And then we can also talk about the impact of the radio and the FDR and all that kind of stuff like that. But so it was taking me and my ideas off stage and empowering kids to be collaborators and creators and to own the learning and create that experience for them of hearing these broadcasts and these things and enjoying what their fellow classmates came up with, and that totally transformed the lesson.
Yeah. And I love that because you're taking away what our students are connected to right now is that visual component. You take that away. So how do you use the radio as a way to convey without pictures, without the visual component? Mm-hmm. How do you do that in an effective way? So that in itself is some really deep thinking about how can we really get our ideas out there. So when you're listening, you can visually, in your mind, see what we're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. And some of these performances were so outrageous that it was hilarious. You know, they're having a fun time doing it, like without we're just hearing their audio, but they're in the back room, like doing it, creating it. And like, I mean, they're having a blast. And in the classroom itself, we are dying. We're like, you know, like, it's like, we're just having a great time because of the creativity and the outlandish things that are happening in order to try to entertain us with these things. It was so fun. And I mean, it took me 2 years to figure that out, though. I'm not always I might be the Teach Like a Pirate guy, but sometimes I'm a little slow.
But when you talked about that and the importance of failures, it made me think of the old observation about Babe Ruth, right? How many times he struck out at bat, right? Yeah. But he also hit a lot of home runs. But you got to strike out sometimes, and you learn from that, and you hold the bat a little differently, whatever it is. But I think it's important. But because of that, do you think sometimes administrators don't support teachers in their failures, and that makes people kind of go, oh, I don't want to take a chance because I might get in trouble or get disciplined or whatever it is?
Yeah, so two sides of this. So the first side, when I'm talking to teachers who are concerned about this, I always tell them, listen, if you think about what an administrator has on their plate to worry about, right, running a school system, the idea that you, as a passionate, creative, innovative teacher who's going out of their way to try new things and to try to really engage these kids, probably has fewer behavior problems reaching the front office because kids actually enjoy being in your class. The idea that you're going to show up on this principal's radar as a problem as opposed to a blessing does not ring true for me. And it has generally, of course, there's some bad actors, right? But in general, I've seen unbelievable administrative support for these kind of creative and innovative teaching ideas. And principals are usually absolutely ecstatic to see someone on their campus putting in a little extra time, energy, heart, soul to make classrooms amazing for kids. And so I don't buy, and the same thing is true of parents. Teachers that are worried about parents with some of the wild and crazy things that I do or encourage people to do. When a student comes home who quite often has hated school or maybe at the very most has been apathetic about it, and all of a sudden they're excited about school and they're talking about it at the dinner table and they want to go to class the next day and they're telling you what's happening every day when they come home. You won't believe what happened in U.S. history today. Like this kind of stuff.
It's gold.
The idea that our parents will give you a lot of leeway for what you're doing in your classroom when they see their student, maybe for the first time, excited about school. So that's one side of it. From the administrator side of it, when I'm talking to an administrative audience, I always say this to them. I say, listen, it's very popular to say that you are pro-innovation and risk-taking, and we want innovators on our campus and risk-takers and all this kind of stuff like that. But we don't really know if you are serious about that until we find out how you react when someone fails. Like it's really easy to be pro-risk-taking and innovation when you're talking about maybe your superstar teacher and things are going well. But what happens when someone tries something that's new, innovative, creative, and they fall on their face? How you respond will determine what happens in your school system. If you respond in an evaluative and judgmental way, you will see less risk-taking and innovation on your campus. But if you respond in a way that celebrates the courage that it took to try something new, and in a supportive way and as a resource, then you will see more creativity, innovation, risk-taking on your campus. The very idea of a risk means that there's a chance it doesn't go right, right? If there's not that chance, then it's not a risk, right? And so how administrators react to these things goes a long way towards determining what the culture is going to be in that school system.
That reminds me of Google that I think they always allowed employees 20% of their time to work on their own projects. And that's how Gmail was invented, right? So they had that freedom to take a risk. You just use 20% of your time and it created this innovation, right?
Yeah. And that was kind of the whole backdrop to what was at one point a very super popular movement in our schools. I don't know, maybe Canada too, but went by names of like Genius Hour.
Genius Hour, No, I've done it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so Genius Hour, came straight out of that idea that some of the best innovations, most creative thought came from this time where people just got to go down rabbit holes of their own passion and pursuit, that things that they wanted to pursue.
What advice do you have for new teachers? They're starting out trying to find their style, their way of being a pirate.
Yeah. And so for a new teacher, I would say, like, what is unique about you? Your particular strengths and talents and your voice that you add to your classroom is always what's going to make you the most powerful, most effective, and also help you build rapport and relationships with your students. And I would also tell them, though, that this is something that happened to me and I think happens a lot. A teacher came to me and said that they were going to quit the profession. And I asked them, whoa, hold on. Like, what happened? And they described a situation to me where they had, like 29 of their 30 students were engaged and the lesson was going fine. But one kid popped off. One kid was a behavior problem and derailed the lesson, right? And this was happening to them over and over again. And they're walking away from that experience feeling like a failure. And so I said, hold on. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, as an educator, you create a rubric for your success that you have to have 100% engagement from 100% of the kids on 100% of the days. You have now created a rubric that's going to guarantee you a career and lifetime of disappointment. Right? It's not about perfection. It's about getting better. Like, these ideas will help you improve your student engagement, but don't ever walk away from a lesson where the majority of kids were engaged, but you had a couple of problems, feeling like a failure. And what happens is experienced teachers know that that's just an example that teaching is really hard and that happens and we have bad days, things fail, goes on. But a new teacher walks away from that experience feeling like it's them, like they're not good at this, right? The one that's been doing it for 20 years, it rolls off their back a little bit. And it's kind of like, yeah, like that was, sometimes it's like that, right? But a new teacher will walk away beating themselves up and saying like, I guess I'm not cut out for this. And so you kind of have to inoculate them early with this idea that failure and disruptions and behavior problems, all like that's not something that's going to ever completely go away. That's going to be something that you battle to the day that you lock the door for the last day and walk away. You're going to have something happen.
Right. Yeah. If you could give our listeners one challenge they could start this week that would start them on the path to teaching like a pirate, what would that challenge be?
So I have this. One of the essential questions of Teach Like a Pirate is kind of this little mindset shift of saying like, if they didn't have to be there, would you be teaching to an empty room? Or is there something about you and the way you make kids feel when they're in your class and the kind of experiences you create for them and what you're offering them that maybe they're not getting anywhere else in their life, they'd be drawn to you in your room anyway. Like those are the teachers that we want to be. And it goes to this idea again, which is very essential to the whole idea of teaching like a pirate, is like I say, don't just teach a lesson, create an experience. Lessons are easily forgotten, but experiences live forever, right? And so they may forget that prohibition lecture, but they'll never forget going to the speakeasy, right? And so it's always about taking our content and saying like, all right, here's my content. Not good enough. How do I make it come alive? How do I create an experience around this? How do I create something that's memorable around this, right? And so turning lessons into experiences is what I think is one of the primary ways to teach like a pirate.
Yeah. If I remember from your book, I think one of the questions you asked is, could you sell tickets? Could you sell tickets to your lesson?
Yeah.
Is it that engaging?
It's like a bar-raising thing. It's not about, like, have I created a lesson which is going to eliminate my behavior management issues? Like, that's a low bar, right? Like, but it's like, do you have any lessons you can sell tickets to? Like, that's a high bar. Now, and we call them in the TLAP community, we call them ticket lessons. Like, do you have any? This is one of my ticket lessons, right? And like, it's not going to be every day. I do not have 180 ticket lessons, right?
No,
but I have some. I have some culminating to culminate a unit, to open a unit, or to like the culminating lesson of a unit and things like that. I have some ticket lessons, and so and that's an important point to kind of to tell people too, especially if they've experienced me through seeing me speak first at like a keynote or a workshop, right? And at the end, often some people times they'll just walk away with this dazed look on their face, and they'll be like, "I'm just tired watching that guy." And I always tell them like, "Listen, you have to understand, when you see me speak, you're seeing a highlight reel of my class."
Right.
I have like years of teaching experience, and then I am creating a highlight reel to do for you during a keynote, and then talk to you about these ideas and how you can add some of these ideas. But like, you're not seeing my everyday classroom experience. You're not seeing the group project where I'm just walking around the classroom and the kids are working independently. You're not seeing them using some study time or watching some sort of clip on a video, or like there's all sorts of things that go in my classroom. You're not going to walk in on any particular day and I'm not going to necessarily be doing like somersaults down the aisle and like, jumping up and landing in the splits while I'm singing a song or something like that, And so you have to understand that when you see a keynote speaker, you are literally probably seeing a highlight reel of their teaching experience. And that's not going to be like the minute by minute, day to day experience of being in their classroom.
No. Dave, we both read your book and we really enjoyed it. We're going to put a link on our website so people can find and purchase a copy, because we think it's a great book to share. People can learn a lot from it. How else can people learn about Dave Burgess? Where else can they find information about you?
Yeah, thank you so much for recommending the book. I appreciate that. I'm honored by it. And so I am, if they're on Instagram, I am DBC _INC on Instagram. On X, Boy, do I miss Twitter. On X, they are at Burgess. I am at Burgess Dave. My name just flipped around to Burgess Dave.
Okay.
And I have a podcast called The Dave Burgess Show.
Okay.
And they can go there. And I'm at daveburgess.com, and all the books are at daveburgessconsulting.com.
We will put links for all those things on there. So we really appreciate you coming on After the Bell and taking up your time to meet with us. And we know our listeners are going to get a lot out of this. So much appreciated.
Hey, it was a fun conversation, and thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, and our fingers are crossed for the midterms, Dave.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Well, there you go, mateys. I'm glad I didn't try anything like that in the middle of the interview. He teaches like a pirate.
He teaches like a pirate.
Having Dave Burgess on was fantastic.
It was. And, I feel like we taught like pirate.
Yeah.
Maybe not to the extreme as David, but that's because we were in elementary school and it wasn't necessarily, we weren't able to kind of break it up like in a high school kind of curriculum.
Right.
But there were times when I was a mad scientist.
Yeah.
And so I taught like a mad scientist. There were times when I taught like I was the leader of the country when we were doing looking at politics.
Yeah.
I remember talking like I was the king.
Yes.
And sort of when we were talking about different forms of government.
Yeah. And when I look at his pirate acronym, right, I feel this is us, right? And I encourage people to try to find their way of presenting this. You don't have to be like Dave. You don't have to be like us, right? Everyone find their style, but like the P, passion. Teach with visible enthusiasm. I for immersion. Be fully present and mentally engaged. R is rapport.
And I know, having taught with you, we worked really long and hard in those first few weeks to build that rapport with our students and then to continually maintain it.
We had an episode, season 1, making connections, right?
Yes.
It's vital. That is more than anything else done at the beginning of your term or your school year. Do it at the beginning. Make a connection. Absolutely. And then A was ask and analyze. Constantly reflect. How can I make this lesson better? And sometimes that's exhausting because because you can always make every lesson you can make better, right? And often I would just beat myself up too much, right?
Oh, I know.
Is it just going, that was pretty darn good. Be happy with it.
No. In fact, I've had some, I remember having some amazing lessons. And for some reason, I just started recreating a new lesson in the next year because one, I couldn't remember what I did because I didn't write it down.
Yeah.
Or two, I said, oh no, I can be better than that. And so when you're recreating the wheel all the time, it does get exhausting. But I mean, that's part of that passion, right? And finding the hook that gets your students really involved.
And it's never boring, right? It's never boring that way when you recreate the wheel.
It was not boring. It's time consuming.
Yeah. And then T is for transformation. Turn standard lessons into unique experiences, right? Trying to, that just for that moment, how do you make that moment stand out?
Yeah.
And E, of course, is enthusiasm. As he says, it's contagious. Students mirror your excitement. And I like I uttered for myself when I wasn't feeling so hot, you start it, you are faking it a bit at the beginning, but then you get into the day and go, God, I feel better. I really feel better.
And it's all about, I mean, when you start doing something and if it is, you're acting in a different way, you're raising your vibration, right? You're feeling good. And all of a sudden you just get, as you bring yourself higher and higher, those things that draw you down because what has maybe started out first thing in the morning, it lifts you up.
Yeah.
And when you're someone who's up there feeling really good and is really passionate and excited, and they're up high, you can't help but bring other people up to you.
It's true.
Because when you're down, the opposite happens too. You bring them down.
Who do you want to be around in life, right?
Yeah.
People that bring you up and make you feel good, or that person that just you're with. And
The person who fills your bucket.
yeah, will you fill my bucket, my friend? And I'm glad we have this podcast. And I was really happy to have Dave on, and we will share all his information on stuntbrothers.ca. Stay healthy, stay happy, stay fit, and we'll see you next time on After the Bell.
Make sure you read the book. It's a great...
Teach Like a Pirate.
Teach Like a Pirate. Read it as a
Very
new teacher.
readable, yeah.
Read it as a master teacher or an experienced teacher. It can actually help you to bring your A game.
Yeah. So see you, everyone.
Bye.
This podcast is organic, taking shape with each episode. Building resiliency for teachers everywhere.
That sounds great.
And our website is stuntbrothers.ca.
That's stuntbrothers.ca.
We will chat again.
After the bell.